Time for Chieftain Playoffs Finals featuring Skarbrand versus Lenorm. Yeah, definitely interested to get into this series. Going to be a best of 3 for this final of the Warpstone Cup Chieftain Playoff Series. Like I said, yeah, Slaanesh versus the Vampire counts as the first battle. Very interesting matchup for sure. Slaanesh brought one of their few anti-large units to lead the way here. The Lord, of course, the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, the lore of Slaanesh specifically. Looks like Acquiescence, and we've got Seductive Glory, Bound Ability as well. Yeah, just Acquiescence and Pavane, of course, along with the Feasting on Fear. We've got Steercar here as well. Some Marauder Horsemen, including Riders of the Mighty Serpent, some Hellstriders, and some Seekers. A single Devotee. It's the only infantry to speak of, so very risky build for sure. A lot of high micro demanding units. A lot of mobility here that is very squishy potentially against vampire counts, who themselves are going to be quite sturdy. A lot of meat on that bone, pun very much intended. We've got some Crypto Bros here with Manfred von Karstein leading the way, Mortis Engine, Stearnsman, Konigstein Stalkers, and some Skeleton Spears as well. Zombies as a meat shield up front, and that's basically it. Like I said, a lot of meat on that bone, a lot of HP to try and slog through, especially with the regenerating Crypto Bros, the Mortis Engine, of course, providing some passive healing, Necromancer on a Corpse Car, Unholy Lodestone providing even more passive healing, and stroking that sweet Forbidden Rod. But yeah, we're going to see some early maneuvering here. Fate of Yuna being put on the Riders of the Mighty Serpent there is going to drop maybe none of their unit models. Does a ton of HP damage, actually, but it looks like, yeah, actually technically didn't drop a single unit model, although if they get sneezed on now, they'll probably fall over. Trying to get rid of that high-value skirmish unit, and you can tell Skarbrand's plan is going to require some patience here. He's cast Pavane of Slaanesh upgraded to do a little bit of extra damage, even though the damage scaling is more meant against multi-model units. It still is going to do enough damage to rampage Manfred, which he's going to chase way out here into the boonies to try and hit these Seekers, which is advantageous to Slaanesh. They definitely have a serious mobility advantage to try and outmaneuver here. And besides being quite slow, Skarbrand's doing a nice job kind of distracting the main body of Lenorm's army here, so he's not in a position to support Manfred. Manfred, the Pavane's going to drop, he's going to regain control, try and get back to friendly forces. I don't know if he'll fully die here. I think he'll probably be able to escape. Crypto Bros very swiftly marching to their Lord's salvation, perhaps, but Steercar's siding in quite fast. The Exalted Keeper of Secrets also is going to pop that Seductive Glory, which also has a rampage effect. And Manfred's going to take some pretty serious damage. He does, Skarbrand rather, does need to bring in some blocking detachments, has to use these Hellstriders to hold up just this massive horde of Crypto Bros. And they are going to get beat down pretty badly as a result, but trade is absolutely worth it, as he's able to do a ton of damage to Manfred, or he can skate back through his own lines here. Should be able to screen out Steercar and the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, get back up into the air, but losing that much HP on Manfred this early on in the battle is going to kind of dictate things a little bit. Slaanesh might be able to go for the snipe here with another Pavane and some decent positioning, but right now you do have to be a little bit careful not to get drawn into the bog here, so to speak. Did pay a Hellstrider for the troubles and took some damage on some Seekers as well, but putting in some damage on the Mortis Engine also with the Skirmish Cavalry all this time. Mortis Engine, of course, going to be super important tool to take out. Incredibly expensive and important unit. I guess not incredibly expensive, but very important unit. Definitely a centerpiece for vampire counts. And Manfred's going to be healing himself. He could actually, if he wanted to, fly a little bit around these two passive healing sources. That will regenerate some HP as well without having to use Winds of Magic on it, but understanding he wants a little bit of burst healing here in case of a potential snipe attempt. Just going to go for that Invocation of Nehek. Hellstrider cycle charging zombies. Not particularly efficient, but hey, they're actually, I guess, not very efficient in terms of time, but yeah, they are they're taking very little damage, so in that way, very efficient. But as I'm speaking, we see another vein drop here, and this is probably the end for Manfred. Skarbrand's in a better position this time to capitalize on that. Immediately rush in with the Exalted Keeper, but more importantly, Steercar can come in, lock Manfred down, keep that speed nice and low. Yeah, you can see Manfred's down at 35 speed. I mean, he's getting burst damage to death anyway, and Manfred falls there. Beta Buna being popped before he goes, at least dumps some Winds of Magic into those Seekers of Slaanesh, but you can see the balance power already tipping in favor of Slaanesh with the death of the Vampire Count, right? hard for the faction to perform if the namesake is not on the field, and we're going to see some leadership issues potentially, although right now still holding pretty steady. Mortis Engine helping to shore things up. Do they have Encourage base? No, they do not. I can't remember if the Regiment of Renown has Encourage, actually, but anyway, at the very least can provide some passive healing. I guess you do have the Necromancer here who still has Encourage, and can act as somewhat of a leadership unit, try and stabilize things, but he didn't actually take any spells on the Necromancer, which is a little bit unfortunate. Maybe even just having like the zombie summon would have been nice, just to have a insurance in case Manfred is not able to use his Winds of Magic for whatever reason. Try and get some zombie summons out, just to kind of help bog down what's left and really turn it into a slog as much as possible. But wow, look at the Narcissism Army ability being popped there on the Mortis Engine, snaring it in place. Votees pull up their crossbows, and some last few volleys from these Marauder Horsemen as well, and I think the Mortis Engine is crumbling. Yep, it will last a little longer due to the passive healing, but is going to crumble out eventually. Meanwhile, Keeper of Secrets staying on the move. Skarbrand's done a great job of not committing to any unfavorable engagements, especially Crypto Bros being the most dangerous of all. They're kind of moving around as a big blob. One unit does get caught out here, though, and the Hellstriders and Steercar are going to be able to drag them down. Balance of power staying pretty close. The healing of the Vampire Counts, especially considering how sort of skinny of an army, if you will, in terms of an HP perspective, especially Slaanesh has here. The HP disparity between these two armies is pretty high, so Slaanesh really can't afford to take any bad engagements. And so far they've been able to mostly avoid them. Kind of got beat up a little bit in a few situations, but a lot of Hellstriders and Seekers still operational enough to contribute. Of course, you got the Marauder Horsemen as well. Feasting on Fear generally is pretty good. Against undead factions especially, because crumbling is kind of a slow burn damage and the units continue fighting, they're going to stay in one area, right? Whereas if units are routing, they're potentially going to scatter in different directions. Hard to really kind of capitalize on this to best effect. But against undead, right, they continue in fighting, even wavering units, right? But especially crumbling units just still continuing to fight. So yeah, it's relatively easy to keep some HP flowing, at least, on that Feasting on Fear. But here, ooh, Slaanesh almost gets cornered between a bunch of different spears, but they're going to find an avenue of escape there. And now Vampire Count's starting to get pulled apart a little bit, starting to get pulled in some different directions. We're going to see Narcissism popped on the Necromancer here. Silence him, not that he has any spells anyway, but just for good measure. And the Keeper of Secrets and Steercar moving in. Gonna do even more unspeakable things with that pile of corpses in the cart. More unspeakable, certainly, than what the Necromancer would do to them, although both are unspeakable, just in different and interesting ways. Anyway. Yeah, we're gonna see crumbling, big burst damage on the Necromancer, and that probably seals army losses. I'd imagine the rest of the units for the Vampire Counts are just going to crumble to dust here. Yep, all the skeletons and zombies can't sustain their necromantic power and will fall by the wayside here, granting victory to Skarbrand with Slaanesh. Very interesting, very sort of tactical, very precise in picking out Manfred and capitalizing on those rampage effects there. Skarbrand definitely putting in some pretty good work with the Keeper of Secrets. His ability set, even the army abilities there we saw put to really, really nice work. And just overall, the fact that he got to the end of the battle without either of these Seekers dying, and really kept the Hellstriders largely intact. Pretty impressive stuff, all things considered. Despite the fate of Buna, Riders of the Mighty Serpent still get some really nice value. They have some good high-value targets to shoot at, but yeah, the combo of Steer Car and the Keeper of Secrets and the Rampage effects, really, really tough. You know, the AoE one as well, we'll take a look at that, but yeah, from Lenorm's side, build was a little bit immobile. I mean, granted, against Slaanesh, your mobility for vampire counts just kind of loses anyway, I would think, but maybe there's something to be done with, like, mass bats and hounds if you put a quick dance macabre on them, potentially, to try and bypass the melee defenses of the Slaanesh units. Maybe you can get some kind of isolated, decent engagements and start to tip things over a little bit, but a little bit of a ponderous army, a lot of infantry, basically no mobility at all outside of Manfred. It's going to be tough to win with. I mean, granted, Blood Knights are pretty bad right now, honestly. If they got, like, the Grail Knight treatment, then I think this matchup would become a little bit better for the Vampire count. Still tough to really compete with Slaanesh mobility, but kind of equalize that equation a little bit. Black Knights, of course, are just not great. And they've never been truly spectacular, but especially right now, they're probably one of the worst heavy cavalry units in the game, maybe? Would you all agree, disagree? Let me know down in the comments below, but it's been my absolute pleasure to show you this battle today, and speaking of pleasure, rather than keep you in suspense, I'll just tell you that in Game 2 of this series, Skarbrand's demons were able to very swiftly overrun Lenorm's Dark Elves on the backs, particularly of some Slaanesh mobility, with some Tzeentch stuff going on as well. So, yeah, that is going to end the series 2-0. So, yeah, Skarbrand wins the Chieftain bracket. Congrats to him on that. And thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, it's been my pleasure to show you all of these tournament games. Big thanks to Ryder Rohan for sending them to me and kind of hooking me into casting these. And yeah, we're going to be keeping it coming at you, phrasing Slaanesh. Anyway, yeah, we'll be having lots of more replays and videos to show you guys very soon. Back to regularly scheduled programming. We've got some Slade battles to show you. I've got some other battles to show you, so definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to what Creative Assembly has planned next for Total War Warhammer. And on that note, I'll leave you all. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.